Well, folks, it's another beautiful day in Portland, and I just got home from work, and now I'm doing a video. Don't watch this video, whatever you do. Taking care of business. All right. Oh, the lackey's gone now. Now it's just you and me. We're just chilling here. So here, hit this up. Nice. It's homegrown. All this stuff we have, we take it so seriously. Stuff. Our computers, cell phones, our cameras, and our cars. And it's funny how some people will get so upset, like say their kid breaks something of theirs, and they'll like whip their kid, they'll scream at him when it was an accident, because it was something that was important to save the person, and the kid doesn't understand that. But I think to have really nothing tied up in our stuff is probably a better way to live. And I'm not one to talk. I have so much stuff. I don't care much about the stuff. It's like the guy at work said the other day. He wanted to write a book called I Could Use That. And I knew what he was talking about, because that's kind of how stuff is. It's like there's pack rats and there's hoarders, but then there's just people who have lots of hobbies and don't want to give up those hobbies. For me, it's stereos and stuff like that. And I just, attaching ourselves to our stuff is like so dumb. I mean, it's such a silly thing. Like, I have this or I have that. I made a video a while back about stereos. It was a long time ago, like 8 months ago. And it was about vintage stereo equipment. And the video is still up. It's had like 8,000 hits. It's like the most popular video I have. And it cracks me up because there's conversations on there I've had with people about which gear is better. And some people get really upset when I say that spending $2,000 on solid gold audio cables makes no difference to the sound. And I guess if I could add to that, I would say buying $2,000 cables and a $10,000 amplifier doesn't do enough to the sound that a human can distinguish. And I'll kind of go off the beaten path. There is no beaten path. What the fuck? Stereo equipment, dude. I have a stereo that when I was really into vintage equipment, I'd go through so many different stereos and I'd switch between them. I got to the point where I could tell if something was flat or had warmth, but that was only to my ears. And the epiphany I had was when I took my speakers and I tweaked them sideways just a slight bit, and then I held my ears like this while I listened to the music. It was horrible. I had to readjust all the volumes to make it work. So that's why when people sit and argue about which stereo is better, they don't even know that it depends on the person's hearing. It depends on the person's perceptions, and it depends on the source music, and that's the biggest thing. And people spend thousands of dollars on stereo equipment, and then they listen to MP3s on it. It's just like, what? But the reason I brought that up is because people buy stereo equipment like that not for the sound. They put it as much as the people that I've talked to anyway. They tell themselves they're buying it for the sound, but they can't resist telling everybody about it. They want everybody to come over and see their Macintosh set up and their badass stereo. And that's great. That's cool. There's nothing better than having a good stereo system. I totally agree. But I think that there's a price limit. If you're buying new stuff, you can't spend more than $5-10 grand and expect to get huge results beyond that. If you're buying vintage equipment or used stuff, you don't even need to spend more than $1,000. In fact, my receiver I got at Goodwill for $20. My speakers off of some dude on Craigslist for $75, which they're floor standing like 5-foot speakers. And these other in-wall speakers for free because they just were getting rid of them. They were Paradigms. They were like $800 in-wall speakers, you know. So, but none of that matters. Those $800 speakers mean nothing compared to my just shitty old Pioneer speakers. So anyway, people convince themselves that the equipment that they have, that the stuff that they have, is better, or the best you can get, and then they want to brag about it and tell everybody what they have. So they become in these clubs, these clubs of people who believe one thing or have one thing or think that stereos are a certain way. It's as stupid as car clubs. Really? I mean, car clubs? Now I understand in the old days that was something that people did, but some of them are people that want... People say don't judge. Don't judge a person. And you're right, you should never judge a person based on how they look. But if you judge a person based on the car they drive, that's probably not a good idea all the time either, because they might be borrowing the car, or it might be circumstantially the car they had. But just like stereos, when cars hit a certain price range, people can be judged by their cars because they have chosen to dedicate an entire chunk of their money, maybe a year of wages, to a car. Now, in my opinion, there's just nothing crazier than buying a new car and spending more than, in my opinion, I don't think you should spend more than 3 months' wages on a car. You know, I mean, there's no need for it. And people say, well, I want a car that's going to last. Well, you know, I bought used cars that last 8 years, 10 years, easy, and take care of them and they'll last forever. But folks want that new car smell, that new car feel, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong. I'm not dissing on new cars here. I'm just saying that when you spend $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on a car, you can expect to be judged by that car. And it's just like the clothes we wear. Don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that's because a cover explains the book, but often it leaves out a lot of the details that you don't understand. And likewise with people. Just because they're wearing a certain type of clothes, you should never judge them on that. But people do. And people always will. And to an extent, people wear clothes a certain way because they want to be judged. You see what I mean? It's not knocking people as much as saying that it is what it is kind of thing. You know, your first impression, no matter how hard you fight against that, it doesn't go away. And so when do we start associating ourselves with stuff? Apple. There's a perfect example. Fuck iPhones. And fuck Apple. You know, I wouldn't even want to associate with Mac people. If they really think Mac's that great, well, that's fine. But it's a computer. It's a way, it's a means of using your information or getting access to the internet. Who cares if it's faster or better? There shouldn't even be a Mac versus PC. A person should just try one and whatever it is, they like it. But Apple, they can't help it. They have to put their fucking Apple logo on everything. You know, you watch it. Next time you're watching a movie and somebody opens up a laptop, look at the back. Every single one of them is an Apple. They bought their way into about every movie, and if they haven't, then people on the movie think it's cooler to have one of those anyway, just because it's an Apple or it's a Mac. Okay. There are people who will completely switch operating systems, not because they're sick of one, but just because they want to, you know, they hear the other one's better. And it's like music. Music's the same way. People want to be associated with a certain type of music, so they wear a certain type of, you know, clothes that associate themselves with that or that group. And I think that that's part of human nature, fitting in, right? Just want to be part of everything, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem I have is when people... Like when somebody's standing there in a leather jacket, fucking torn up jeans, you know, and tattoos all over their face and a mohawk and shit, and they say, "Don't judge me." What the fuck? Are you kidding me? I'm not judging you as a person. We're judging the person that you want to be portrayed as. And it's different. You know, it's kind of hard to explain because it sounds kind of harsh, but it's just the reality, the way I see reality. So no matter, I've seen a lot of these new age groups that talk about loving everyone unconditionally, and then no matter what somebody says to them, they always have something nice to say back, and they believe that that there's no reason to well, I guess I won't go into the new age stuff because it goes too deep and I'll probably offend somebody. I've been accused of being a new ager a lot of times by people. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't believe in new age anything. I change things every day and ideas every day. The one thing that I really enjoy is a nice sunset or a nice sunrise. Like this morning, I got to see the sunrise, but I saw the point where it rose. It was the first time I've really seen it from a point. It was amazing. I was staring right where it rose, and I thought, this is life. This is what life's about. Turned my whole day around. It was wonderful. And when I first left for the day, the traffic was the worst I've ever seen it. Ever going into Portland. And I thought to myself, shit, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. Because if I had, I would be judging the day based on something that happened. Whereas 10 minutes later, I saw the most beautiful sunrise ever. But it's all blowing smoke. All of us are in this together. We're all in this search for meaning and the mission to make life as enjoyable as possible while harming the least amount of people, including yourself, as possible. To find a way to let others live the way they want to without interference, as long as their actions are causing harm to no one else. And in that sense, we can live in a judgmental society if we want to, and still have enough reason to know that we have to look through our own shallow views of other people. I mean, I give people as many chances as I can. When I was young, people laid some bad impressions on me, and I could hold a grudge, and just, be like, they're out, or say, I could hold a grudge and be angry at them. And then later in life, I learned to just say, all right, you're done. I'm not even going to talk to you anymore. And then after a while, you realize that all issues have their resolutions, but you don't have to drag it around with you. I don't like to carry around judgments and hate. It's totally counterproductive. So I'm done. That was my video. I don't know if it really has any bearing on life at all.